Well, hey, my divinely guided chosen people. Listen, I am actually teaching on the topic of judgment in this video. I already did the introduction, so this is going to go into stage one. As I explained prior to this video, and this was in the other video, that I received a download over the weekend in terms of the topic of judgment, okay? It took me a little while to figure out how I wanted to address this because there were so many aspects of this particular topic that I did not want to leave out. A lot of times when I get on here and I'm talking and I'm teaching, there are certain aspects or certain details that I may accidentally leave out of the explanation. And so I did not want to do that because this topic, it's vital to a lot of people that are actually going through a transformation. Like, you need to fully understand this. We have been taught a lot of misconceptions and a lot of false realities in terms of what judgment is. Okay, first things first, for those of you guys, and I feel this in my energy, I'm not sure, somebody is wondering, why is it that you always end up attracting the same kind of people? And I'm gonna try to make sure I answer this with as much kindness as I can. The reason why you are attracting the same kind of people in your life, that is because that is the energetic frequency that you radiate. That is the energetic frequency that you vibrate on subconsciously. The unhealed version of you will always attract the same identical person that also resonates within that vibration. In other words, if you are centered on greed, grief, guilt, anger, rage, those are all low vibrational energies. Whenever that is in your subconscious, and that is what is growing and festering within your subconscious, that is going to send out a vibration. That vibration is going to attract other people that also vibrate on that lower level. That's why you keep attracting the same people. And even if you can't tell that that's who they are when you first meet them, you will soon see that's exactly who they are. So if you want to change the kind of people that you are attracting, you have to vibrate at a higher level, okay? And when you start to vibrate at a higher level, those people that don't match your vibration, your frequency, okay, they won't even be attracted to you because you don't resonate with them, okay? All right, so here we go. Now, guys, I did type up the notes, okay, and this is so I can ensure that I don't leave anything out. All right, so this is going to be stage one, okay? We already talked about the introduction. If you're not sure about the different stages, you can go back and look at the first video, okay? All right, so here we go. I'm going to read this, all right? And then as I'm reading, I'm going to stop and kind of break down some stuff so I can make sure I'm not losing you all academically, so I can ensure that we're all going through this together and that you fully understand, because you need to understand this. All right, so here we go. I'm going to read directly from my paper, so if you see me looking to the side, that is why. Okay, these are my typed notes. I typed these, okay? All right, so the first stage of judgment is the spiritual stage, governed by the universal and spiritual laws that states that anything that happens in the 3D realm must first occur in the spiritual realm. This is your above, as above, so below universal law, okay? If you don't know universal laws or spiritual laws, get into it. You need to know these laws, okay? Everything functions off of those foundational laws, every single religion. In other words, as above, so below. This stage is the first because it signifies the actual seed that is being planted. Whenever an action, response, reaction, mentality, or paradigm is initiated, that initiation is considered the seed. Often when an individual commits an action they would like to conceal or keep hidden, they spiritually, emotionally, and physically bury it. This is what I meant by somebody committing an action that they are embarrassed about, so they hide it within their subconscious because they don't want to have to face it. Huge mistake. All right, I'm going to go back to reading. These thoughts are remnants of the action they committed. So whenever you bury something in your subconscious, it is going to continue to come up into your mind, come up into your thoughts, okay? This is because this is buried in your subconscious. You're going to see these things in your dreams. You're not going to be able to get rid of whatever action you committed. because it's buried in your subconscious, which means it's growing and festering, okay? Now, in essence, they push the action aside and place it within their subconscious so they don't have to constantly be fully aware or reminded of the action, response, paradigm, or intention they once imposed. However, the issue with burying something within the subconscious is that it is a place of consistent transformation. Remember in the first video, we talked about whenever you commit an action, transformation of judgment takes place automatically. Now, understand that in terms of duality and polarity, okay, every judgment is not a bad judgment, okay? Every transformation is not a negative transformation, but just understand that you're going to get judged and you're going to go through a transformation. This is every act that you take, and you get it that second. You don't get it when you die. You get it the second you commit the action, or you have the thought, or you take on the paradigm. Okay, so let's move on. However, the issue with burying something within your subconscious is that it is a place of consistent transformation. Although it may be dark, it is rich in nutrients that facilitates growth and acceleration. When something is within the subconscious, it is not visible to the person who committed the action and placed it there. So the person that did it, they're not going to see it because they tried to hide it. Got it? This is why it is considered subconscious. Although it cannot be seen, it is deeply ingrained within you, and it is the reason why you may respond, react, or adopt a certain paradigm when deciding what actions to take in a situation. In other words, even though the seed or action is buried within your subconscious, okay, and you cannot see it because you chose to bury it, it actually grew because it's in a dark place where it's consistently nourished. It continues to grow and fester because it is hidden in a place of the unknown. If you were wondering how it gets nutrients if it's in a dark place, the answer is that every time you decide to hide or bury something else in your subconscious, that energy from all of the things that you've hidden become the energetic source of nutrients that nourishes everything you've been hiding in your subconscious. In other words, every time you commit an action that you're ashamed of, you have a thought that you're ashamed of, and you bury it in your subconscious, you don't address it, you don't get rid of it, you don't send it, you don't return it to sender, you don't do any of that. You just bury it, and you try to pretend like it never happened. You're placing it in your subconscious. Imagine that your subconscious is like a field with soil, okay? And every time you have an action, that is a seed, and you place it in your subconscious, you're putting it in the ground. Every time you have another action or another thought or something else that you're not addressing, okay? You're not fully taking it on. You're trying to hide it, and you bury it. All of those energies combined together is going to start nourishing every single thing that you've hidden in your subconscious. That is how this works, okay? It's as if you decided to plant various types of seeds that require the same energetic frequency in a single garden. And all of those collectively constitute the energy that you reside in subconsciously. Now, the reason why this is considered spiritual is because when you are functioning, you may only think of your actions, reactions, responses, or obstacles or whatever as something that is physical. It first has to originate in a spiritual sense before you can feel it spiritually, okay? So if you're trying to alleviate a situation or eliminate something, okay, you first have to eliminate it spiritually. All right. So whenever you're already acting or reacting or responding to something, it's because that seed was already within you. You just didn't know it. Okay. These seeds are spiritual seeds. In other words, like your actions are spiritual seeds, but they begin to fester into something physical. Okay. All right. So guys, we're going to discuss that part in the next stage. So I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully you guys have a super amazing day. We'll talk soon. Bye.